Yeah, yeah, baby. We're back. SP Convo. SP Convo. Let's do it. Yeah, people. Welcome back. Welcome back. See something real quick. Um, you see where we at with the great debate. Mysonne and Marquett. Some I found a little bit of this debate very intriguing and extremely lack of a better word, divisive. Yeah, two men, two different upbringings, I believe, and we're gonna see how two men holding a strong debate fans out. Let's get into it.
To the black family and the black future. And
I'm saying, what did you say? That's not. Those weren't the words.
Sure, we'll play it back. We'll play it back. We'll play it back. Like, I was poorer than the other poor kids because my mom was on dope when I was a young boy. My father was in prison doing 10 for selling dope. So I really come from the mud. And one of the things I have to admit is that, well, damn, if you can still afford to use drugs while you on SNAP, maybe if they took away the SNAP, you'd use that hustle you used to purchase those drugs to cover the basics. Just maybe. And if not, if you're actually in a tribe, we'll be forced to take care of each other. There'll be necessity. They say necessity is the mother of invention. What we need to invent is the black family because it's currently dead. So, of course, my heart goes out to people who are struggling, but I think mostly they're not struggling as much as they think they're struggling. And SNAP has destroyed black families. So okay, right. So here's the difference. You stated that I said SNAP has destroyed the black community.
Okay,
I said SNAP has destroyed the black family. And those are two different things. Number one, there's no such thing as the black community. And we can explain that another time. But the black family, there's no doubt that SNAP has been a part of the destruction of such. When you look at the data in terms of blacks getting greater access to SNAP benefits, we see that there has been an inverse correlation in terms of the black man being in the household and being at the helm of the family. So it has driven more instances of illegitimate families, fatherless children, unprotected mothers. And in fact, there's a study that points out that while on SNAP benefits, a woman is less likely to actually get married. And then when that same woman gets off of SNAP benefits, the likelihood of marrying shoots up. And that's because the government has been positioned where the
a woman on SNAP benefits less likely to be married. Yeah. If a man know that that female don't have her shit together, yeah, he ain't gonna marry her. He gonna have a prejudge against her. He's gonna be very prejudiced against her. Now the part about her getting off a snap, she may get married later on. That depending how far along in age is she. If she's a young girl on snap, roughly from the age of 20 to 25, she get off it by the age 30. She's still young, body's still intact. Yeah, somebody pick that up and marry her. Yeah, somebody will pick her up and marry her, depending on her character and who she is as an individual. Yeah.
Black man would have been. So it's destructive. And I'll ask you this: do you think that the short term is more important in general, or the long term is more important? Which would you say is more important?
It's always the long term.
Always the long term. We agree there. And my discussion, my ideas that I share, the system of thinking that I promote, and the revolution that I'm currently waging is for the long term. And there can be no birth without pain. The truth of the matter is that, did you know there was a time when black women had a higher marriage rate than white women? But now it's flipped around. And both are increasingly becoming single mothers. But the fact of the matter is, it can be directly tied to those SNAP benefits we call them today, but before we just used to call it welfare. And that's been the destruction of the black family.
Well, I think what we're correlating is two different things. I think the black family, right? I think what I realize, right, that throughout history and me listening to women, just having conversations with the black women, there was a time where there was a family unit that wasn't really secure. That woman was staying out of desperation. There was no love. There was no unity. There were black children that were born in households. There was no love, that they didn't even see passion between parents. There are black children that said that they wish that the parents that they had probably would have been separated, because the mother staying out of desperation because she didn't have need didn't create or foster love in a family. I think what happened now, and because I can say that accurately, because I know parents, when we were on welfare, my father didn't have a job, right? But what he did was he went to get a job to get us off of welfare. I think.
Okay. So the other gentleman said, if a female was on SNAP, she more than likely would not have a job. She would more than likely not have a man to marry. Mysonne just established that his mother was on SNAP and his father was in the house. I don't know if they was married, but he just said that both his parents was in the house while the mother was receiving SNAP benefits. And then he said his father went outside to get a job. I think a man's supposed to have a job before he impregnate any female and start a family. I just honestly believe that. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it's supposed to be. In retrospect. Because to let a female be in position of any type of authority, the respect that she gonna have for a man is none.
I think that any man who loves his family is not leaving his household for SNAP benefits. I know that there's this ideology and this myth that black men left the house because you couldn't be in the household because you couldn't get the SNAP benefits. But my father would leave when the welfare person came. He would leave, put his little stuff in the corner, and when they came, he came back. And what he did was he made sure he left the house and he went and got a job until we didn't need welfare anymore. He didn't abandon his family. He didn't abandon his wife. He didn't abandon his children. And most men of honor and any level of integrity that I know didn't leave his family for SNAP benefits. There's no man who loves his family that just leaves his family for SNAP benefits. So what I think has happened is there were families that probably were broken from the beginning because there was a hierarchy. There was because I have conversations with men like you had a conversation I seen on your conversation where there was a man saying if we could have a conversation and you say something and you sound like a man and I hit you in the mouth, I didn't abuse you, you just lost the fight. And that mentality is toxic. And no woman should have.
Oh, my son, you hit me with this white liberal female talk.
I didn't say it's toxic masculinity. I'm saying that mentality. I don't speak like a female, and I think when we talk to men, we can't talk to men and say that they talking like females because we started off saying something we're gonna talk with respect. I'm talking to you like a man.
Yes.
I don't like anything like a female.
No, I'm not saying you're talking like a female. I'm saying the ideology is
it's not ideology.
Feminist liberalism.
What I'm trying to tell you, I've been a man. I'm almost 50 years old, and I've been around men my whole life. Men of honor. I've been in jail around killers. I've been in jail around the most notorious men in the world, and none of them think putting your hand on a woman because she says something that you don't agree with is masculine or strong. So I'm trying to tell you, there's an ideology that certain men have that.
But in certain cultures, a woman is not respected. It's the Western mind that lets a man know that the woman's supposed to be over him and not the other way around. So a lot of people do come to the United States of America or the Western side of the world to have those freedoms, to have that advantage, that leverage. And females are in position once they move to Western societies. Because what I know, a couple of my I'm gonna say co-founders, but some people that I know, they from the other side of the world. They don't respect their women. Their women have to do what they say. And so the guy Marquett is basically coming with that mindset of a man is to lead and a woman is to follow. They say it's old school, but too much freedom leads to failure. If you give anybody that much freedom, the choices that they make is not going to be in their favor. It's going to be leading to failure. So let's continue.
Because a woman doesn't abide by your rules and you pay the rules, that you have the ability to abuse her. So what happened when?
Do you mind if I address some of the things you said because you're kind of going on to a different topic at this point?
So let me just finish. So what I'm trying to say is when you talk about that SNAP benefits broke up the home, it wasn't that SNAP benefits broke up the home. There was a level of independence that women had in toxic relationships that made them believe that I don't have to be around a man who thinks because I say something he don't likes and he hits me in the mouth that I lost the fight.
I got one challenge for you. Try whisper for once. One time. And I promise you'll understand why I haven't typed the...
I'm just making some notes here. Okay. So I would challenge that a number of the things you have articulated are speculative, they're anecdotal, they diverge from logic, and they're very much so what feels good, what sounds good, and what's emotional. And the reason that I say that is because you noted that Black people represent 25% of SNAP benefits recipients. And I know you said that because I wrote it down. Now, that actually doesn't make sense in as much as Black people in America, and I'm not talking about the foundational Black American, because I think that they're more so like 10%, but Black people, which would be inclusive of Haitians and all of these other groups that have a different ethnic background, but Black people represent 13%. So they're nearly twice, they're at 200% of the representation they should be at, kind of similar to prisons, and you spoke about that earlier. You know, we're 13% of the U.S. population, but a much higher percentage of the prison population. We're overrepresented. I think there's a very reasonable story that you could articulate in both cases, but what is certain is that we're overrepresented in a bad way and it's detrimental. So you stated that as though it was a good thing that we're 25% of the welfare benefits as opposed to us being representative, which would be 13%. I yield the floor for a rebuttal to that.
Well, basically, if we're talking about wealth in America, we only represent 3% of the wealth in America. right? So if we look at communities where blacks inhabit majorly, most of those are poor communities, right? So if we're in the poorest communities, then more likely we're going to need the most assistance. So the fact that we only represent 25% of it, and everybody represents more than that, the whites represent about 40% of it, and they represent 70% of the population, and they represent 83% of the wealth, right? So that there's also a correlation. So what happens is when you look at the other people who are on SNAP benefits, they've utilized SNAP to their ability, right? If you look at the Jewish population, they are one of the highest, also a high population on SNAP benefits. They utilize the housing of the SNAP benefits. They utilize the housing. They figure out how do they get free housing, and they also own their own communities within the communities they live in, and they also figure out how do they benefit off it. So what I think is what we haven't learned is how to benefit off of using the state's money, like the billionaires have, right? They call and they say we're bankrupt, right? We have our money, but we're not going to spend our money. So we want you to give us your money, and we're going to continue to make more money. I use the example of Rich Dad Poor Dad. The rich people figure out how to use OPM, right? And that is a form of government assistance. So if black people were in our community.
All right, so Mysonne said the rich people figure out a way to use OPM, and he's saying that people that's on SNAP is basically doing the same thing. Yeah, everybody's pretty much using other people's money. Yeah, that makes the world go round. That keeps the society moving. But I think the gentleman in the suit, Marquett, is basically saying, let's get off of that, looking for somebody to take care of us and take care of yourself. Because he's saying his mom was on drugs and his father was selling drugs and his father was incarcerated. So he made his way out with no excuses. So he have a little chip on his shoulder. And he used that chip on his shoulder to surpass his upbringing, to do better than his parents, as we supposed to. Mysonne, on the other hand, is saying he's speaking for the people that don't know how to get around things, that need guidance. Even though they are adults, they still need a push. They still need somebody to let them know it's going to be okay. But the thing is, you have more people that are reliant on government or a handout. It seems to be that way, more so than people that want to do things for themselves. So far, so good.
And we were taught how to utilize the government assistance, right? We were taught how to utilize SNAP benefits. Right now, and they're trying to stop us from doing that. Right now, there's a crackdown because the lady brought cakes, right? She brought cake mix with her SNAP benefits and began selling cakes. Everyone else in other communities utilize the SNAP benefits and they double and triple those benefits. Everyone else uses government assistance to double and triple and make money off it. They are intentionally trying to keep black people poor. So I don't think that the SNAP benefits broke up the black family. I think what broke up the black family was not understanding how to utilize black benefits, being targeted in our communities, because they understand that the biggest threat to America is black unity. The president said that, Nixon said that himself, the biggest threat to America is black unity. So they've always tried to do that. I think the biggest thing that destroyed the black family, especially when you look at the time that's most been destroyed, is drugs and crack. Crack was the biggest thing that destroyed the black family, because prior to that, we were still unified and we were moving. We were doing what you said. There was a community base. We're going to make sure that you're okay. Before crack came into my community, every door next door to me was open. We walked in and we lived like a community. We actually lived like a community. We were able to walk into our neighbors' doors and get sugar. We were able, my grandmother and grandfather, my family, we had family meetings where we had the susu, where we put money in and we had family businesses. So when crack came in, you couldn't trust your own family member, because once they got the money, they wasn't going to come back to it. So I don't think SNAP was the biggest thing that destroyed the black family. I think drugs, and that was an intentional thing by the government to destroy the black family.
Okay, very good.
But also other families got destroyed. The white people families got destroyed too. People that was in high positions in this country, their kids was messing with the blacks, sleeping around with the blacks, and they had to put on a facade too, to act like everything was okay. Meanwhile, their son or daughter is in different parts of the United States of America, roughest cities, laying up with the drug dealers, getting high with the drug dealers, getting high with other crackheads. So that was a pandemic within the United States of America on its own. Every city was rampant with people that used to be on a high level in life. 6 months, 3 years later, crashed down. That's where that street deceit come from. Yeah, people being very smooth with their words and characters and their mannerism. Like Mysonne said, before you able to knock on your next door neighbor and get some sugar for those that was impoverished like that. Because a lot of people knocked on my parents' door, asked for sugar, bread, eggs, things of that nature. And I was always willing to give the things that my mom's bought inside, my father bought inside the house, outside to people. Until my mom said, she worked too hard. So my mom's programmed me not to give my stuff away to somebody else because they're not going to return it back to you. The minute she left my presence, I still gave it away to people anyway. Because that's just who I am. I think we all gotta live and let live when it comes to seeing somebody down and out. But I also took care of myself and never asked nobody for nothing. So that's very conflicting. That's a conflicting situation that I be in from time to time. Sometimes I want to tell a person, man, go get a job and do your thing, man. I did my thing on my own, man. But then I had to learn from other people's experiences. Some people just don't know how to do it. Some people just don't got the confidence. So this is it. I'm trying to say, so far so good. So far so good.
So my challenge with folks who often take your position, and your position can very much so be described as a liberal position. I don't suggest that to put myself on the other side as a conservative. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, a liberal or a conservative. I just follow this ism. Marquettism is for the kids. Marquettism saves lives. Now, let's talk about this piece. So we agreed earlier that the government is for the rich. I think we can probably also agree that the government is, and always has been in the United States, organized for and controlled by white people. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if the government is for the rich, and you said black people are not the rich in this country, if the government is organized for the benefit of white people, organized by white people, and black people are in fact black, which color-wise would be opposite of white people, then why is it that your idea is using government benefits, which is to say using the benefit from the enemy or from the person or the group that doesn't care about you? How would you think that that would benefit you? It's nonsensical. Furthermore, it suggests a level of inferiority. Not that the white man believes you're inferior, but that you believe you're inferior, such that you must rely on the government handout. Furthermore, you reference the Jews and other groups that are utilizing the welfare benefit system. Well, obviously, mathematically, being that blacks are overrepresented at 200%, there's obviously some groups that are underrepresented. And I think that's worth considering. Furthermore, the Jews are actually categorized as white and have been for some time, especially since the data started being recorded when these public benefits were given out. Now, with regards to the black community, what they're lacking today and in times past, especially during the time of the crack epidemic, which destroyed many of our families, mine included, is ideology. You see, the reason I say that there's no such thing as a black community is because communities have a lot of things in common, but core things. You mentioned the Jews earlier. It's a great example. They have religion, they have language, they live in proximity, they don't allow outsiders in, they have patriarchy. They have their own hospitals, they have their own policing force, and they have a strict system of belief, and they don't snitch and rat on each other. And also, they don't rely on the outsiders, the Goyim. Whereas conversely, you're kind of describing all of the opposite things for black people. You're describing the idea that we should rely on the government, which has been our open enemy since we arrived here on a slave ship named Jesus. Black people, some are Muslims, some are Christians, some are atheists. They don't have a uniformity in the religion. Black people don't have their own language. Our folkways, mores, and our music and culture has been commercialized and stolen from us. And that's precisely why there has to be one system that dominates. And because black people are very effeminate as a mass, very soft and emotional, they have trouble accepting the fact that something must dominate to unify us into what would rightly be described as a community. Furthermore, you speak of the idea that blacks need welfare and they need government assistance. And if you were to only look at the 50...
Was it only blacks? Because if you look at the history of the United States of America, from slavery, they was put in the working quarters, working on the plantations. Some blacks was docile. Whatever the master said, it was done. Some were rebellious. And it's like, if you good, you have. If you bad, you don't deserve. But if somebody is oppressing you, who want to be oppressed to do something that they want to do? Who want to be forced to do that? Nobody. So if there's a system out there that keeps certain group of people down because they're not doing what the person wants them to be doing, some people just rather say, man, forget this, man. I'll stay without nothing. It could be pride. Or it could just be, like Marquett said, there's have to be one person or one group to dominate another. Alright. So now you got people of color, blacks in America, saying the ones that broke their back and worked for the master, they didn't get nothing. So now they become bitter. The ones that always had that rebellious spirit, you already know they wasn't going to have nothing. But times change. You still got to eat. You still got to survive. So I get what Marquett is saying. But a lot of people are not ready to unalive themselves for change. A lot of people don't want to sacrifice themselves to push to have richness and greatness. Some people feel like I already worked for it. Where's my pay? And I'm going to be stubborn about it. Mysonne is saying, listen, man. The system is the system. And some people are going to use it until they could do better. But it seems like a lot of people use the system and never get off it. Because that becomes a lifestyle. That becomes a way of life. Accepting that from the government. Just like back in slavery. The slaves that accept all the gifts from the master got the benefits. They got the cornbread. They got extra beans. They got fresh cold water. They got maybe an extra linen, an extra pair of pants. Well, the person in the field just barely got the bare minimums and was preaching that type of talk to everybody else in the field to hopefully get in their minds to make sure they will never go into the house. Because some people in the field didn't want people from the field to see better or know better or do better. It's a dicey debate, man. You could chop it up mad different ways.
4 states of Africa, and you find every one of them is accepting foreign aid, also known as welfare and assistance, from whom? From the same group, which is to say the West, the whites, and they're all failing. Because government assistance is not designed to get you off of it. And even though you think it's benefiting the black people, it is actually not. It's making them weaker because, as you yourself admitted, it forced your father to have to disappear when the social worker comes up to check in, to make him have to creep around with no dignity. The truth of the matter is black people are the wealthiest group of black people, the ones in America, on the whole planet Earth. And so I assure you they can...
That's true. Black people in America are the wealthiest group of people. throughout the whole diaspora of blacks. True. Even with SNAP being in position, black Americans have it. Other countries, black people are not able to finish basic education. They're not able to finish high school. And in America, you don't have to pay for high school. That's guaranteed for you until they change the laws. I believe that there's somebody that's going to be from foreign country that's already in Congress in America that's going to push it, so American blacks can know how it is to go to school from 0 to 11, and then your parents have to pay for 12th grade education. I believe that.
Get by without those SNAP benefits, and it will open up a whole different way of living. You mentioned something about the woman being independent. I would describe it as disobedient and rebellious. The man is the leader, and he is more rational, and there's data on that. And he is to lead. The idea that the black woman would use SNAP benefits to allow her to shirk her responsibilities and her duty to the black man is an abomination. And that is something that has caused a great deal of trouble. So what you're describing as a good thing is in fact a bad thing. When you look at the data, we see that those black children who grow up without their father because their mother was independent for whatever reason, they have higher levels of criminality. And you were locked up with a lot of them. They have higher levels of mental illness. They have low.
You peep how Marquett just threw it out there. Mysonne told him in the beginning what he experienced. Marquett coming back, circling the wagon, reminding him it's time to get down to reality. See, my son is doing that because he's down with the political, party that saved him. Because let's be honest, how far will my son go in life with a background record of being known as a person that steal or stole? Nobody likes a strong arm. Whether it was innocent or not, he still got charged with that. Whether he was innocent or not, he still got charged with that. But society don't care about that. Society looking at whatever's written is so. So if you went to in prison for X, Y, and Z, then when you come into society, it's ABC. So, but Marquette is about to really stir the pot, as we say back in the days. Now today's called rage bait. See the smile on my face? That means something about to cook. Or it's starting to cook, or it's cooking. And you're about to smell what the aroma is. Let's do it.
Levels of educational attainment. And then the other thing that you mentioned that should not be mentioned at all, and it is not a factor, and that is why this ism has to spread around the whole world. You mentioned love. Love is fantastic. Marriage is not about love. Family unit is not about love. It's about pushing toward a particular set of milestones in a life well lived. Love is great. Compatibility is better. Love is great, but being able to cooperate and produce is better. How do you measure love? You can't measure it. And the worst thing about it is love is something that the women are very much so hooked on. And that's when they want to leave the relationship because I didn't feel the love. You have a duty now to be a mother. You have a duty to be a wife. And that outstrips love. I yield the floor to you.
And I respect everything that you said with the exception that a family unit, it should not have. I mean, you actually did say that there should be compatibility, right? And it can't be compatibility if we have a disagreement, and because we disagree, I lose a fight and you hit me in my mouth, right? Abuse should never be. Listen to me. I listened to you. I didn't interrupt you.
I just want to say, but I never said that though. Like you're. I don't want people listening to you thinking like I said that.
Well, you agreed with the person who said it. You made a full statement. I watched the video. And a man explained his verbatim that if I say something and you say shut up bitch nigga or whatever and I hit you in the mouth, I didn't abuse you, you lost the fight because you used terms that would be deemed fighting words, right? Those were the things you said. Well, I understand that because you should not say things if you're not prepared to fight. And I don't agree with that mentality. I'm a man, a strong man. I am a masculine man. I don't agree that if a woman doesn't agree with me or says something that's out of line to me, that I should put my hands on her. I don't believe leading a household requires me to be physically abusive to her.
Uh, may not put your hands on a woman, but you gotta put a woman in her place. And another woman will tell you that. A woman will tell you, don't let a woman get all up in your space, all up in your face. She has to have respect for you. You're a man. You're a strong, dominant figure. You're a strong, dominant physical force. So I understand what Mysonne is saying. You don't have to put hands on a woman when she get out of pocket, but you have to let her know some shape, form, or fashion. Nah, she can't just walk on you like that. She's not allowed to walk all over you like that. So you see, the thing is, once a woman decided to get a job and they started working and the salary started picking up and they started being able to do things for themselves that a man usually would do, they gave up on a man. And they started raising their sons, if they didn't have the father around, to think like them. So that child could be the next future man with a more understanding to let a woman manipulate him and let her tell him what it is so she can get everything that she wants with little to no result or work ethic. I don't know my son personally. I don't know how he raises kids. But I'm going to say, as of right now, he about to be 50 years of age. He just coasting. He just doing what he got to do to make sure his income is still coming in. That's what he's doing. Now, do I believe half of the stuff that's coming out of his mouth? I could say, yeah. But back then, before he had the knowledge, nah. Everything Marquett is saying now, my son was doing back then. He was doing that. I could see him knocking a woman out cold for her getting too quiver with the lip. So.
Women. I don't believe that showing strength or even in a relationship that compatibility that her word should not matter in the household. I believe that I should have the final say, or we should come to agreements about how we're raising our children, how we're doing things. I think that if I'm in a relationship with a woman who respects me, that I've earned her respect, then she will yield the floor and understand that I'm the head of the household. But there are a lot of men who are not men. They are merely
When I watched that scene in the movie Malcolm X, when he was speaking to his wife, he was telling Betty a certain situation shouldn't be. So they was talking inside the house, and he slammed his hand on the table. Woman, don't you raise your voice in my house. Yeah, Betty was a strong figure, but Malcolm was the man. He was the world figure. And he knew what it was. You're getting too beside yourself. You see, that woman had her own education. She had her own work ethic. She was, I think, a nurse or a dietitian. She showed Malcolm what to eat, what not to, what to eat, what not to eat, how to carry himself, to pay attention to the people inside his circle. Yeah, she gave him that information. But Malcolm was too far gone on his mission, on his journey. He still knew, no matter what, he's still a man. And Betty had to make sure she stood in her place. Even if she's seen a lot of flaws, a lot of mistakes that Malcolm was doing. So what my son is basically saying that there's females out here that know how to do their thing. And that a man should be paired up with that woman and give that woman that respect. Because there's men out there that really don't deserve that respect unless they're producing results. Marquett is saying a man is a man. And that man got to figure things out. Everything starts with him and begins with him and ends with him.
Males, and they only have control in their homes.
Hold
right?
on.
They don't even have control to not say things if you're not prepared to fight. And I don't agree with that mentality. I'm a man, a strong man. I am a masculine man. I don't agree that if a woman doesn't agree with me or says something that's out of line to me, that I should put my hands on her. I don't believe leading a household requires me to be physically abusive to a woman. I don't believe that showing strength or even in a relationship that compatibility that her word should not matter in the household. I believe that I should have the final say, or we should come to agreements about how we're raising our children, how we're doing things. I think that if I'm in a relationship with a woman who respects me, that I've earned her respect, then she will yield the floor and understand that I'm the head of the household. But there are a lot of men who are not men; they are merely males, and they only have control in their homes. Right? They don't even have control in their homes. Only way they have control is because they're physically stronger than women and children. So they go into those homes and they beat and they harm women and children, and they don't produce strong men. They don't produce strong women. They don't have partners. They have people who are in fear of them. And I believe that for years. That's how a lot of our when you have conversations with elder women, they're elder women who said, "I wasn't in love. I wasn't in compassion. I was in fear." And I lived in this relationship out of fear.
So how is a woman in fear with a man she gave kids to? How's she in fear? How's she in fear of something that she always wanted? Through conversations. Through a conversation, you talking to this man. Then y'all start dating, courting one another. Or he start courting her. Then it comes to a relationship. So what happened? After the kids, he became a monster? They said good girls like bad boys, right? So how are you chasing a bad boy or you desire a bad boy? How are you afraid of a bad boy that you gave kids to? So you telling me that you decided to lay down with a monster, to bear kids with a monster, and let your kids be subjugated to a monster's ways of living, abuse, physical, mental, and emotional? Then you want to say it was hard for you to get out of that relationship when you know from way in the beginning who that person was? Come on, man. That be the nonsense. That be the nonsense that some of these women tell their male sons to switch their sons from loving their dad to having resentment towards their dad. They get inside their male son's head, and sons fall for it. Just like most of these men fall for women's nonsense. Anything women say, that's gold to them. They don't use their own ingenuity, their own wisdom, their own experience to counteract the nonsense coming from a woman's mouth. Because unless you was there to walk that mile with her and see how she was living with that man, you can't believe that. Because you the new nigga in her life. You the new cat in her life. You the new dude in her life. She could tell you anything. Because your flight just arrived. That other flight departed long ago. Gotta watch these women, man. A lot of these women got street deceit, along with their natural tone of tongue to get a man to be caught up. You got street girls out here too that know how to play that game, spin that wheel, put the money on the wood, make it all go good. Come on, Mysonne. Come on, brother.
Right? So no woman or children should relationship that compatibility that her word should not matter in the household. I believe that I should have the final say, or we should come to agreements about how we're raising our children, how we're doing things. I think that if I'm in a relationship with a woman who respects me, that I've earned her respect, then she will yield the floor and understand that I'm the head of the household. But there are a lot of men who are not men; they are merely males, and they only have control in their homes. Right? They don't even have control in their homes. Only way they have control is because they're physically stronger than women and children. So they go into those homes and they beat and they harm women and children, and they don't produce strong men. They don't produce strong women. They don't have partners. They have people who are in fear of them. And I believe that for years. That's how a lot of our when you have conversations with elder women, they're elder women who said, "I wasn't in love. I wasn't in compassion. this relationship out of fear, right? So no woman or children should be in a household where they're in fear of someone who is supposed to be the head of their household. There should be a unit. So I understand what you're saying, and yes, I believe that a man should be dominant, but I believe that a man should be proven to be dominant. I think that you prove your dominance through intellect. I believe you prove your dominance through compassion, to empathy, to being able to teach, to be able to teach your children. To a woman feels like when she's around you, she's learning something, she's growing. If a woman's around you, and because you are unable to teach her or able to reach her, all you can do is beat her, then you have not shown any level of any type of superiority.
That sound like my son moms gave him a 64-ounce pitcher of the Kool-Aid. Or, if it wasn't her, it's that lady that he used to be underneath. If her name is Tamika Maui, I think she the one that showed him that feministic mindset and told him he have to hold on to that if he want to stay in power and he want to stay paid. So if he want to stay in power, or stay employed rather, let me take away the word power. If you want to stay employed, he needs to get more on that feminist mindset. Because I'm telling you, they got him pigeonholed because of the jail record. I'm telling you that. If he had all the freedoms before he failed, he wouldn't have been in that situation. Too many freedoms lead to failure. You need some structure in your life so you know how far to go. My son's talking as a person that he knows people are watching, so he don't want to say the wrong things. He don't want to upset his mom, the females that he had kids with. You understand? Woman in the past, or woman that he currently serving with or working with, he don't want to. I said serving with or working with. He don't want to do that. My son know this guy telling the truth. You understand? He know this guy telling the truth. My son just want to counteract what he's saying because it's a paycheck. Simple as that. But all that, if a man don't know how to reach out to a woman, if you don't know how to guide her, show her things, that he's not a man. Come on, man. Most of these females want a man like that. As my son said, a male. They want that. Somebody they can control until they can't control that person no more. And then they call the authorities. They use the system against him because he's already in the system. And that's just what it is. It's the same system, roping up everybody. Once you make that mistake, that's your error for the rest of your life. My son's no different. I think this brother Marquett have a different upbringing. So he's going to look at it in the way of he pushed forward. So all them other things that my son is saying becomes excuses. My son like to keep the nonsense going. In other words, that's what I'm saying. He's keeping the nonsense going. He's not liberating people to do better for themselves. He's come with the excuses. It's almost like a Joe Biden. He may be a Joe Biden. He may be groomed to run for president in 10 years. Who knows? Anything goes in the Willy Wonka factory of the Democratic Party. Anything goes in the Willy Wonka factory of the Democratic Party. Let's get back to it.
I'm not leading a household. So when we talk about those things, children should be in a household where they're in fear of someone who is supposed to be the head of their household. There should be a unit. So I understand what you're saying, and yes, I believe that a man should be dominant, but I believe that a man should be proven to be dominant. I think that you prove your dominance through intellect. I believe you prove your dominance through compassion, to empathy, to being able to teach, to be able to teach your children. To a woman feels like when she's around you, she's learning something, she's growing. If a woman's around you and because you are unable to teach her or able to reach her, all you can do is beat her, then you have not shown any level of any type of superiority. You are not leading a household. So when we talk about those things, and when you talk about the stats, right, and we talk about, yes, they did. We are the black people are the only people they took our culture from us, right? They took all the things. They took our culture. They've taken our religion. I say this all the time. Only thing that we unite in is pain and trauma. When we see another black person in pain and trauma, we all united. Prior to that, I'm black, you foundational, you this and that. We are divided. So what I'm trying to explain to you, that's why that if we're in America and all of the resources are held by the white people, right? If all of the resources are held by the white people and we're figuring out because they understand that anything that you teach us, we outlearn them, and we've done it over and over and over. I've watched, and this is why every 100 years they disenfranchise black people, because what happens is once you teach us the game, we play it better than you. So what they do
May I respond to your earlier point since you're going on to a different point now?
I'm going into what you went into 3 different points. So
okay. I was just asking. Carry on.
To what you said. You was talking about how we're divided as a culture, how we don't have a culture, how we don't have religion. So I'm explaining to you what happened. So they know that we don't have religion. So what happens is now that we start to build our culture, we start to come back in congruency, we start to be united, and they see that united. This is right now. There's a reckoning. This is a reckoning for what Obama did. People say Obama, the president, didn't do anything individually for black. He did. But what he did was inspire and motivate more black people to be professional, to be strong. They seen black people in positions of power. So black men said, I can own things. I can be the president. I can be the president of Fortune 500 company. And they began to do that. Black women did the same thing. So as they see that now, you see the reckoning to it. They trying to rewrite in America. So I understand what you're saying. But I also want you to understand that this government owes black people. They pay reparations to everybody else. So if we can't give reparations even in the form of the real reparations that we deserve, and we can't utilize the government money to be able to build and as a foundation, a lot of people do. I know white people who live at their parents' house, right? And they stack up their money. They say, okay, we don't have enough money right now. We're going to put our money and we live at our parents' house for 2 years. And what happens is after those 2 or 3 years, after they lived off their parents, they go buy their homes and they create a foundation. So I think that if black people were taught that that's what we should be doing with the government's money, instead of trying to say, don't take no handout. No, everybody else is taking handouts and they're utilizing it and they're benefit from it and they're growing. So why shouldn't black people do the same thing?
That's the sound of an American oil company. Hard at work.
Mysonne.
Want to be a part of it? Listen up.
Hello. And that there's asymmetry and that I'm above her. So being that I view myself above her, she views me above her. I don't expect her to engage me with an equal level.
And you say where was the disconnect and how something broke up the black family and how SNAP benefits replaced the man. And I want you to understand that in my point of view, that I don't believe SNAP benefits.
So I didn't yield the floor, and I appreciate that. But that is to bring emotionalism and to pull on the hearts.
Too far back. Let me see.
So what they do.
May I respond to your earlier point since you're going on to a different point now?
I'm going into what you went into 3 different points. So
okay. I was just asking. Carry on.
To what you said. You was talking about how we're divided as a culture, how we don't have a culture, how we don't have religion. So I'm explaining to you what happened. So they know that we don't have religion. So what happens is now that we start to build our culture, we start to come back in congruency, we start to be united, and they see that united. This is right now. There's a reckoning. This is a reckoning for what Obama did. People say Obama, the president, didn't do anything individually for black. He did. But what he did was inspire and motivate more black people to be professional, to be strong. They seen black people in positions of power. So black men said, I can own things. I can be the president. I can be the president of Fortune 500 company. And they began to do that. Black women did the same thing. So as they see that now, you see the reckoning to it. They trying to rewrite in America. So I understand what you're saying. But I also want you to understand that this government owes black people. They pay reparations to everybody else. So if we can't give reparations even in the form of the real reparations that we deserve, and we can't utilize the government money to be able to build and as a foundation, foundation. A lot of black, a lot of people.
Well, America not gonna give black people reparations, man. They give it to everybody else because everybody else have a homeland that they can return to when America don't want to deal with them no more. But the black Americans not gonna get no reparations. It's just not gonna happen. Because if the black Americans get that money, it's all over. All the knowledge that white Americans taught black America, all the understanding of this country's ways, the foundation, the landscape, the agriculture, the different climates, every nook and cranny of this country the slaves built. So this black America is a black country, man. It's just that white people have the power, but America is a black country. So once the black men get that money, the ignorant ones, the ghetto ones, gonna buy sneakers. The poor-minded ones gonna buy things they never achieved before in their life or never had before. The smart ones that know how to handle business is gonna own the country. So white America will never give black Americans reparations. They're afraid. Black America know white America and vice versa. So they're afraid, man. That's just what it is. When you know, you know. When you know, you know. Mysonne know this, and Marquett know this. So for you to rely on the government to the point where they're gonna make you above them, nigga, wake up, man. Wake up. The thing I read about American history with the blacks is they had their own everything already. Their own Black Wall Street. They had it. So it was capable of being done. And they are afraid of that. With the newer technology, black people know how to scam. They know how to take instructions and very well and make something of it. Blacks way back then had the best inventions. So nothing changed. It's just a new society with new people coming into the country trying to be the distractors from stopping the black Americans from achieving. Because nobody want to answer to the black man. But nobody want to answer to the black American man that have all the knowledge and information already. Because you look at it, anybody that's born in America have the opportunity right there. The opportunity is right there. Even with the oppression, the wisdom, the information is there. Other immigrants don't have that. All they know how to do is pull together to make something. Pull together to make one body something. One person out of that group something. And then it's like a factory. The next person go out there. And then the other people still working hard for the next person to go out there. And little by little, they make something of themselves. But now there's a whole community. Where black Americans, you could go here, there, and still make something of yourself. Well, you see why right now the game plan is to stop blacks from having anything. That's all blacks. No matter where you're born, all blacks in America is going to be stagnated and stopped from having anything. That's why they're important. They are importing more individuals that have an anti-black mindset, that they don't care if you're black from the Caribbean, black from Africa, black from Australia, black from America. You're all black. You all have the same DNA from 400 years ago or so. And you all have the same beginnings, but you have different endings and different in-betweens. But you still know you're all black. So, reparations, not going to happen. I'm going to fast forward some of this stuff. So it's not going to happen. You know? Sad. It's not gonna happen. Let me see. I'm skipping it because it's a long video. I ain't gonna make the whole thing about this show. I'm just gonna skip it, start from here. Another 10 more minutes. And see what this debate is about. Let's go.
So, I've been pretty much around the world and I've learned, right? So they say as a boy, you think as a boy, but as a man, you think as a man. So what happened for me is that I started to learn different things, right? So I grew up, like you said, in the communities where we thought certain things, where we outcasted the gay person. We outcasted the people that weren't like us. We felt like we were dominant over women, right? And then I started to watch women make decisions that made more sense than the men that were supposed to be in control. I started to watch women actually, when we look at our communities and black men are in jail and they're leaving the women out here, the women at home taking care of the kids, and the so-called leader, because of his emotions, because somebody stepped on his shoe, was shooting a dude, and his wife said,
Wait. He said the woman's at home taking care of the kids while the so-called guy, the so-called provider, is going outside trying to unalive somebody because he got his shoe stepped on. That's in the hearts of men. I got something to share with that since he said that. Let me take this chat down.
what are you doing? Why would you go up there and shoot him? Right? The woman was smart enough to know that that was the dumbest thing in the world.
So, my father did the same thing. So I understand what he's talking about. My father did the same thing. Something happened at his job, and I guess he didn't like what the person had to say. And so he went to his stash spot, grabbed a weapon, and pum his supervisor. That caused the family to go down a bit. I'm not gonna lie. I was shocked to hear that he did that. But I also knew, though, you can't come at no man the way you want to come at a man and think that everything gonna be everything. Nah. So my dad made sure everything wasn't everything, and he did what he had to do. Now, in retrospect, I don't carry myself as that. Meaning I'm not going to do that at a workplace. Nah, far from doing that. But when it comes to protecting my family and loved ones, if that move got to be made, that move is definitely going to be made without no hesitation. So, my son bought into that a man is not a man if he's leaving his family out there to suffer no matter what the situation is. You can't expect no man to get punched in the face and then run back to his wife and kids and be comfortable with that. It's not going to happen. He got to go back out there and handle his business. You know why? I'll tell you why. Besides it being in the hearts of man, besides it being your natural right, it's just how it is, man. It's just how it's going down. No man is going to let another man disregard him as he's a nobody. No man's going to do that. Whether a man got kids or not, it's not going to happen.
able to do that. So I started watching women make decisions that were beneficial to the family and to the community. And I started.
Well, a woman carried a kid, so she ain't gonna let nothing happen to her kids. The woman's attached to the kid, so even she have to humiliate herself for her kid. She gonna do it. A man not gonna do it. My son know this, man. My son know this. A woman going DIE for her children, turn herself inside out for her children. A dad not gonna do that. A dad is more tribal, or more beastly for himself. Just what it is. Like I said, my dad was the same way. Good man, wanted the best for his family. Until another man tried to disrespect him and make him feel less than a man, he did what he had to do. You can't take away from a man. That's what my son is doing. He's taking away from a man. He's putting a woman above men. If a man was to know how it is to carry something in his stomach for years, close to a year, he had the same attachment. But just like my son said, that man got his shoes stepped on, so he had to shoot it out. That's the same thing men do. Anytime some conflict comes and it gets intense, a man got to do what he got to do.
To listen to women and started to see that my life was moving better than I was listening to overly emotional men who thought that their ego meant they had some level of power. So I understand that there was a balance, right? So I understand that I needed a woman who had the intellect and the foresight and the emotional intelligence to tell me that my ego should not supersede my intelligence. So that's what became a partner for me, because she possessed things that I needed for me to be great. And I possessed things that amplified her to grow to where she was. So it was a partnership. There was no hierarchy for me. So those are things that I learned. I also learned being around gay people. When I was so anti-gay, I never even talked to gay. When you start having conversations with gay people and start understanding they're actually human beings. So
where were you talking to these people at?
I was in prison with gay people. Right, I was in the street with gay people.
But you don't really not supposed to hang out with the punks like that. Like, where you
don't have to hang with the punks, because most of the punks in jail are more thorough than the dudes that's not.
No, the punks. No, I agree with you on that one. I agree with you on that one. But what I'm asking you is like,
I'm explaining to you. So when you in the yard and you watch somebody come up and disrespect the punk, and the punk punch him in his face and beat him up like a man and have a conversation, you like, oh, this, and you having a conversation. He like, yo, listen, bro, I didn't choose how I am. This is who I am. If I could like women, I would love to like women. I just don't like women. The same way that you feel about a woman, I feel about a man. And just imagine if they made a law right now that said that you can't be a heterosexual man, and every heterosexual man gonna die. It's gonna stop you from wanting to have sex with a woman? Is it gonna change anything about you?
Are you asking me rhetorically, or would you like me to answer the question?
I want you to answer that question. And I want you to I just want you to answer that question.
I will answer that question. I will go straight to jail because I was born heterosexual. Conversely, homosexuals are not born gay.
But see,
there's a study from the Johns Hopkins University says that there's no genetic evidence, so they're lying.
Okay, so if that's what they're lying, but I know people who have committed suicide because they was gay. So
that's because they were mentally ill.
Okay, so whatever.
They're mentally ill.
So they're born mentally, whatever it is. If you're born mentally ill, then you're born gay. If you're born mentally ill,
no, they're not born mentally ill. I didn't say that.
Okay, so what I'm trying to explain to you, this is me and you are having a conversation from a perspective that neither one of us can speak about, because neither one of us.
No, I can't speak about it because the data. Because the data indicates that there's no genetics, meaning they weren't born that way.
They had data.
They're 3 times more likely that they were abused as a minor sexually. That's what the data says. Why don't you respect the data?
It's not that I don't respect the data. I just don't all the way respect the data, because there was data that said that our brains were smaller than everybody. The
data proves that, because we have the largest brains on Earth in Southern Africa.
So they said that data said that we were naturally inferior to everybody. We didn't have the intelligence. Everybody, they had data to prove it. They had data throughout history. They had data that proved that we were 3/5 of a man. So I'm just trying to tell
They
you,
didn't have data to prove
there
it
was
3/5
data.
of a man. But why defend the Skittle guzzlers? Like this is against our. This is against our population growing.
This. All I want you to understand is I'm not gay, and you're not gay.
Wait,
so
you've never had any sexual experience contact with a male?
Never, ever in my life. So what I'm trying to explain to you is
okay. Then why are you defending it so hard?
Because
No, you see how Marquett threw it out there? See a little corner of his mouth start to twitch? He's gonna throw it at Mysonne because he don't understand why Mysonne going hard. Just picture yourself in Mysonne's shoes. He's seen things in prison. He's seen things behind the wall. You understand? He know what it is. You know? Things may have occurred when he was in there. Not to say that he was with a punk, but everybody got eyes, everybody got ears, everybody got a mouth. Somebody probably heard something about him. They could easily put it out there on social media. Somebody's seen something about him. They could easily talk about that on social media. Or somebody could just say what they want to say, a lie about him, and people are going to buy it on social media. So that's what it is. So Mysonne playing it very, very, very smart when it comes to that. Plus, like I said, he's down with a political party, and that's his income. So he don't want to lose out on that. Marquett is smart. Mysonne know how to dance around. But Mysonne's in a delusional state right now, man. Delusional. He's not really guiding young guys who's listening to him, that's looking for assistance in life, looking for some type of education, wisdom, understanding. He's not the person to learn from. Marquett, you could go more with Marquett, but Marquett is going to be very, very hard body with it. You know? Militant minded with it. And you can't come at these young guys today with that because they're going to break their ego. The little ego they have, they're going to crush it. Because most of these young guys grew up in single parent homes, man. And according to how my son is breaking it down, it's like his father didn't stay around that long. His father was around, but to a certain point in time in his life. Because I think he was 19 when he got in trouble. So who gets in trouble at 19 like that with a 2-parent home? For the most part, most young guys are scared of their parents, mother and father. So I don't think my son's father was there. You know? I don't think his father was there. But this has been an interesting debate. My son have more of a feminist mindset. Single mom mindset. He catered to all the females that choose bad people in their life. And when they get messed over on them, my son want to be the sugar daddy, the savior. He want to be the simp. Now, there's nothing wrong with listening to a woman when she's crying. But to actually take care of that woman because she's crying and you have nothing to do with why she's in that situation, and you're doing wrong. You're doing wrong. You're not letting that woman know what she did was what she wanted. What she got is what she wanted. What she did is because she wanted it to happen. So it's her fault. However her life turned out, it's her fault because she wanted it that way. My son know better. My son know good and well. He just afraid to express that to his mom. Because most men are shocked to hear that their mom wanted it that way. They don't want to hear how their mom was back in his mom era. He'd be afraid to hear what his mom was. Most men only want to know that their mother is the person that provided for them, cared for them, and that's that. They don't want to hear nothing about their mama's past. But when you're dealing with females that are fast, you could easily say, my mom can't be too far from this. She can't be too far from this. Because the mentality of females is pretty much all the same. Pretty much all the same. Some know how to do it better than others. Some just don't care, they reckless. But it's pretty much all the same. And that's the truth. That's the truth. So, my synopsis of this is you have two men that come from struggle. Marquett come from, like you said, his mom was on drugs and his father was in prison for selling it. Mysonne come from a family, moms and pops in the house, didn't achieve much in life. They probably both was high school dropouts or whatever, or they just wanted the basic necessities in life. And when he was born on this earth, they didn't have it for him. Because I think he said two kids, or maybe it's him and his sister, or maybe him and his brother. But taking care of two kids is not that hard. But if you don't have nothing going for yourself, it's hard, extremely hard. Mysonne fell through the cracks and had the Democratic Party give him a handout, lift him up off his feet, and take him around the world and say, yo, we own you, boy. Marquett figured his way out, went to college, hung around with the snobbish people. No matter where they came from, they all snobbish and rich, and he said he wanted to be there. So in some shape or form, Marquett looked down on black people. He looked down on black people in his own way. Mysonne understands black people's struggle because he come from that. But Mysonne sold out. See, Mysonne was the one with these dudes from Soundview, P.O. Cuban Link is from the other side, from 161 over there by Hunch Point. But P.O., Mysonne has to be in Soundview. R.I.P. P.O. You understand? So Mysonne has to be in the View. So he know the characters of Soundview people. And when the thing wasn't going the way according to plan, he disappeared. By right, disappeared. Mysonne used to live behind Story Avenue, 2000 on the Bruckner buildings. I think his grandmother lived over there. So he used to be in the Soundview section. So he know that he left the hood. He know he looked down on black people too that come out the hood. He know he didn't want to deal with that no more. He always wanted a way out. And he got his way out. So right now he just full of it. Like I said, he just doing what he doing to keep a paycheck coming. That's all it is. But you could definitely tell Mysonne takes in all the information that a woman have shared with him, because Mysonne couldn't get it on his own. Because you heard what he said. He admitted he got signed to a record label. A year later, he got incarcerated. So he wasn't a disciplined person. He didn't stay focused enough to let the record label give him an opportunity, so he gave himself an opportunity to make something of himself. He messed that up. So he needed a woman to guide him because he couldn't guide himself. So he believed in a female knowing more than the men. He believed in the females knowing more than certain men know how to put the system together so they can get something from themselves, get something for themselves, where a man may have a hard time doing that. A man may have a difficult time in a mind space that Mysonne had 20 years ago by just saying a man is this, a man is that, a woman is nothing. He went to jail and seen a lot of men that didn't have the IQ of learning how to stay out there in society and being a man. So most failures, sad to say, are in prison. Most failures are in prison because, like I said, too much freedom leads to failure. When you do what you want to do too much, eventually you'll fail if you don't have no structure, no boundaries. So, like I said, this was a great debate. I wasn't going to watch the whole thing, just enough to get an understanding of both parties. At the end of the day, each man choose their own path, and they both got their own way of looking at life. They both men, but I just say this: Marquett, from what I've seen so far, having once said his age, what he did, or what he seen to build himself up to speak, where Mysonne expressed how old he was. He traveled all over the world. He been places. He seen things to challenge Marquett. So Mysonne is a weak-minded man. Because any man that gotta say he's a strong man gotta remind himself of that. It's just not the case.